Okay, welcome back. Now what we're going to do is look at how do we use trigonometric functions to find an angle. What if we know the ratio, what if we know the sides of a triangle and we're trying to find the angle of a particular corner or an interior angle of a triangle of a right triangle, okay? And we've got the sides. Well, we can take the ratio of those sides, but how are we going to use the ratio, the trig ratios, to help us find the angle? Well, that's where the inverse trig functions come in. So just like you have inverse operations like adding and subtracting and multiplication and division, you also have inverse functions, right? Functions that undo each other, right? Inverse functions functions and inverse functions are ones that cancel each other out. Like if you add 2, the opposite of that, or the inverse operation of adding 2 to a number, is to subtract 2. And what happens when you do that? You get the number back out. So inverse trigonometric functions undo trigonometric functions. So that's what we're going to use to find an angle, are the inverse trigonometric functions. So now, just here as a visual, here's our triangle, here's our right triangle with ABC and then sides ABC, and there's our given angle, theta. And so we know that the definition of sine, cosine, and tangent are given by these ratios: opposite over hypotenuse, adjacent over hypotenuse, and opposite over adjacent. Now, if you notice, if I take the inverse sine, cosine, and tangent, so in this case, if I take the inverse sine of this ratio, B over C, if I take the inverse sine, let's say I don't know what this angle is, but I know these sides, then if I take the ratio of these two sides and then take the inverse function, I'll find this angle, okay? Or if I have A over C and I take the inverse cosine of that ratio, it will give me theta. Or if I know B divided by A and I take the inverse tangent of that ratio, that will give me theta, okay? So if I'm looking for an angle, then I'm going to use an inverse trigonometric function to find it, as long as I know the ratio of the sides, the appropriate sides, right? Remember, opposite over hypotenuse, adjacent over hypotenuse, and opposite over adjacent, okay? Okay, we'll see you next time. We'll do some examples.